Welcome to The Beat. I'm Ari Melber. We have a big show tonight. Harvard continuing its clash with what it calls illegal crackdowns by the Trump administration, now trying to ban new foreign students from even coming to join that elite university, something that generally benefits America. Also coming up tonight, Maureen Dowd from the New York Times on The Beat. But we begin with one of the largest grifts in White House history. It's a tale, really, of two Americas as the president reaps money and gifts for himself while demanding sacrifice by most Americans paying still higher prices for the ongoing tariffs. Trump also pocketing many millions by blatantly granting access to people who buy about $1 million a piece of crypto, his crypto. Trump's hosting a dinner for them in about an hour tonight. The top 25 of the 220, I should say, buyers will get a White House tour tomorrow. The haul, $394 million has been spent already on that so-called Trump coin. And this is the backdrop for the new MAGA budget, which sends more money to billionaires while slashing health care for most regular people. Now, most Republicans are celebrating that priority set. There were some dissenters, but that's the budget coming out of the House, even as others worry the health care cuts may have gone, if they pass through the Senate, way too far. If any of this sounds like the worst nightmare depiction of Trump in charge, well, that's because it is, in its outlines and its warning, what Democrats said he would do during the campaign.
He wants the middle class to pay the price for another huge tax cut that would mostly help him and his rich friends.
Trump also trading access for the American presidency, according to all the experts and lawyers who work in this field, who study this kind of thing. So they've said the plan you see on your screen, how this is all going down, it's unethical. They also note that this is a way for individuals to hand Trump money that otherwise would be, at a minimum, a suspicious taxable gift. And you have to pay taxes on anything over that gift limit if you were just handing money to the president. Or worse, a potential element for bribery probes. But when it's crypto now, Trump's team says, well, people can choose to value the crypto or not. That's kind of a personal opinion. And they don't look at it as a gift. Whether the foreign donors do is another question. The Trump family business also racking up fees on these virtual coins, regardless of whether they ultimately have value. Trump has spent decades hawking all kinds of products. Some have worked and enriched him. Many have not. He operated vague individual sort of entities like Trump University, which, remember, he later paid out tens of millions of dollars to people because he had to settle with them because they said they were defrauded by what they viewed as a scam education offer. So he does know how this kind of stuff can work. And Trump himself had long knocked the exact type of crypto he's now hawking as what he called a scam before apparently finding out how profitable it can be for him.
Bitcoin, I just seems like a scam. I don't like it because it's another currency competing against the dollar. It's potentially a disaster waiting to happen. They may be fake. Who knows what they are? I'm a big fan of the dollar. I'm a big fan of our currency, and I don't want to have other currencies coming out and hurting or demeaning the dollar.
I think it's a very dangerous thing.
That was Trump then. Now he's taking these crypto proceeds, welcoming them, fusing them with White House tours and other benefits, taking fees from people like, here's one example of a crypto billionaire named Justin Sun. He's a foreign investor, one of the top spenders tonight. In just under an hour, he'll be benefiting from all this. But it's notable that the Wall Street Journal reports the SEC sued him as recently as 2023 for what they argued was, quote, fraudulently manipulating the market. That's a federal case, right? A federal kind of probe. And now it is paused in this Trump era. Sun's company had been a popular channel for crypto criminal fraternity, the kind of groups of people who are in this world and moving funds, even if, quote, criminal, the Journal reports. Sun does deny that. Foreign money is a theme right now. Trump got the Pentagon to take Qatar's gift of a brand new 747 jet. That was just yesterday, a rolling scandal. Many Republican senators said don't do it. He's trying to do it. It may get tied up in the courts, but keep in mind, whatever happens, this ain't exactly a gift for taxpayers who are going to pay for this gift to be upgraded so it can be an Air Force One and hopefully not have listening devices on it. Qatar may know a lot about the condition of the plane they're handing off. Americans will not. The unusual handoff shrouded in secrecy because the administration and Pentagon says they won't disclose cost, time, or other specifics about these modifications of what is now 100 times larger than any other gift any president has ever taken. Other countries clearly view Trump's businesses as a way to curry favor with the U.S. government. These Middle East deals going forward, even as he does these Middle East tours. No modern American president has positioned his family to make so much money while in the White House, Bloomberg reports. That's, of course, a financial outlet. They're generally okay with profits or fair capitalism, but there's a problem here. And it brings up a kind of historic, otherworldly hypocrisy. Because Trump, from his very first campaign, talked all about draining the swamp. It wasn't just a speech here or there. It was, you might remember, because you probably follow politics if you watch the news, it was a whole big thing in every campaign with the merch and the signs and the chanting. And this is the thing about our politics sometimes. That language keys in on something real. In other words, it's not all made up. It's not like there's no problem there. It keys in on how many voters have shown over the years a real concern about exactly this type of problem, whether you call it a swamp or corruption or what many people call cruel capitalism and all of the ways that the money seems to infect everything, right? Voters wonder how many people go into public service, talk about this and that, and then come out really rich when they were supposed to be on government salaries. And sometimes we've seen that in both parties. But the Bloomberg story I'm telling you about, in the context of tonight's Two Americas, is that Trump is now one of the worst offenders for the swamp ever. That since the election, he has suspiciously, quote, more than doubled his net worth to over $5 billion. The question remains, not only is that ethical, not only is it legal if some of these deals come back to amount as foreign funneling operations, but the ultimate question for any president, is this good for you and America? Rampant self-dealing. And those are the independent accounts which show the problems and the risks to the United States. And we all know we live in a time that is very partisan. So there may be some people who look at all those facts, and if they were about a Democratic crime family, they would say, okay, and if it's about a Republican, they don't want to hear it. But that's not everyone. In fact, we have a lot of evidence that there's a ton of people in the country who want things to run fairly and well, don't want a swampy government, and that even includes some people on the right who either believed or hoped that Trump's second term wouldn't just be swampier than ever. Witness.
I see all these negotiations going on in the Middle East, and then I don't know when these buildings were approved or when these deals got done, but then I also see like, oh, there's a brand new hotel going up in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, and another one going up in Doha. That stuff kind of worries me. You know, it's
Well, it seems like corruption, yeah.
Seems like corruption, says Tucker Carlson, one of the biggest MAGA leaders. He spoke at the convention. He used to be at Fox. He is on good terms with Donald Trump, but he's willing to say it out loud to what is still a sizable audience there online. Seems like corruption. That's the context for the controversial GOP budget bill we just got, which gives tax breaks to the rich. It passed by one vote after a debate that actually sprawled into the middle of the night. You can look at that as just how Congress runs, or perhaps not exactly something they wanted to wait and make a big deal of during the day. It cuts nearly $1 trillion from programs like Medicaid, SNAP food assistance, $500 million wiped out of Medicare, the very important and, by the way, popular program. And here's the real kicker, the reporting showing that about 10 million Americans will lose their health insurance under this plan. And again, if you think about big seismic debates in America, should the government be helping people get or keep their health care or lose their health care? That's not a close one. It also gives huge tax breaks to the ultra wealthy, millionaires and billionaires. It's what Trump's opponents warned about. It's something we've heard before. Trump ran last year on the issues of inflation and immigration. It was the Democrats often telling voters that whatever he could or couldn't do on those issues, the hidden agenda was Project 2025 and slashing health care. And this budget, now out of the House with one vote today, does show that part of the Democratic warning was fact-check true.
Donald Trump would sell this country for $1.
This guy wants to throw tens of millions of people off of the health insurance that they have. throwing tens of millions of Americans off of health care and cutting Social Security and Medicare.
He is going to make sure that taxes are cut for the millionaires, the billionaires, and the giant corporations.
He wants the middle class to pay the price for another huge tax cut that would mostly help him and his rich friends.
Every one of those quotes is from before Election Day. Those were warnings that this budget shows were true. The rich will get richer. Some rich people are critical of Trump, but find this is the payoff they like. But even his own former aides have cautioned about paying for that by gutting Medicaid.
Medicaid, you got to be careful because a lot of MAGAs on Medicaid. I'm telling you, if you don't think so, you are dead wrong. Medicaid's going to be a complicated one. Just can't take a Medex to it, although I would love to.
Steve Bannon, a lot of MAGAs, he says, are on Medicaid. Another way to say that is a lot of people are on Medicaid in states red and blue, if you care about that kind of thing. There was a Republican who did vote against all this, comparing the implications overlapping with the Bannon concern to a GOP Titanic.
This bill is a debt bomb ticking. It's closer to $30 trillion of new debt in the next 10 years. Mr. Speaker, we're not rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic tonight. We're putting coal in the boiler and setting a course for the iceberg.
So people could suffer. The poor will suffer. That's certainly true. But a lot of other people who might not immediately know tonight what just happened this morning, sprawling overnight into the morning, will find out. Now, there are others who have traced exactly this mutation because it predates Donald Trump and this MAGA era politics. And depending on what happens, there could be a reckoning or it could post-date it and continue for a long time. I showed you those Democrats in the election. Or take another, Sherrod Brown, longtime senator, who said instead of ushering a better economy in which workers are the winners, Trump is pushing these costs higher, hurting small businesses and endorsing a budget with that massive tax cut for the top 5%. Senator Brown is known as one of those Democrats that, quite frankly, a lot of people now say the party needs more of. Working, labor, populist Democrats. Here he was back on the Senate floor in 2022.
It's their answer to pay for everything. How can we afford handouts to corporations? Well, the way to pay for it is you cut Social Security and you privatize Medicare.
It seems that's what they're doing. The senator knows his way around these issues and joins us in 90 seconds. We had the warnings. Now we have the budget, which does confirm the warnings. I'm joined by former Senator Sherrod Brown. He served nearly 20 years as the Ohio senator. Welcome.
Thanks. Very good to be with you. Thank you. Real quick, I apologize for the background. It's my wife's study. We are in the process of selling our house and moving close to grandchildren in Columbus. So
we'll take it full. What are we seeing behind you? You shouldn't be sorry to read so much. Why are you sorry?
Well, just because it's messy. And I don't mind it being messy. That's kind of the way I dress. But Connie does, and she's probably downstairs watching. So just bear with me for a minute, Ari, and let me apologize. All right.
We accept your apology, even though around here, if you saw some of our offices in the piles of papers and books, we're right there with you. I showed many warnings, some recent, yours even going back further. And so it's a question both of policy, this many people losing health insurance if this bill passes the Republican Senate, but also of facts and politics, because you tried to warn people. Bannon agrees with you on one thing, which is that when people figure out how this affects them, they're not going to like it. And yet here we are. So your thoughts tonight?
Well, it's an old playbook for them. It's pre-Trump. It's only accelerated throwing in all the grifting with Trump. But it's cut Social Security. It's privatized Social Security. It's privatized Medicare. It's cut Medicaid. It's using those dollars for tax cuts or other benefits for the rich. Although they make plenty of money from privatizing from prisons to Medicare to Social Security. But it's the old game. And it's people, I think now people really, they think they felt for a long time. I've started something the last few months called the Dignity of Work Institute. We've done a lot of polling and focus groups. And what comes through more than anything is people think the system's rigged. And they're seeing it really up close and with brighter colors today when Trump, the same night, does all this grifting with crypto. But it really is the same old story out of the same old playbook. And people have finally had it when they understand. They've kind of always known the system was rigged, perhaps since NAFTA, perhaps more than that, earlier than that. But they can really see up close, as I said, with brighter colors today, how the grifting and the rigged system has just come to the fore.
The cuts to the safety net are large here. I'll show Medicaid again, 700B. SNAP in the billions there. And then you trigger through old deals another half, big cut of the Medicare cuts, and then the 10 million uninsured. How does that actually play out across the country? When will people start to feel this? And do you think the Republicans think they'll get away with it or just don't care?
I think some think they'll get away with it. Some don't care. They've been brazen about this behavior for years. After church, Connie and I go to a nearby grocery store most Sundays, and when we hear people at the meat counter, in the aisles, at the checkout line, talking about high prices, and people intuitively understand that executives are making more and more money, profits are going up, wages. And they see more, they're more productive at the workplace, yet they see wages flat. And at the Dignity of Work Institute, we hear more and more about more money going out and coming into these families. And that's part of how the system's rigged. They know that people at the top are making more and more money. Now they see Trump paying off their friends. Now they see this bill that's going to cut taxes on the richest people. We see the billionaires surrounding Trump at the inaugural platform, all of these things. And people are feeling it more and more. They're seeing a problem in the economy. They still can't keep up with prices. And they know the system is rigged against them.
Yeah. Do you think the Democrats are handling this right? Or, as I mentioned, given your background, is there something else you would counsel?
Well, I think Democrats have to listen better than we have to workers. And when we, there's more to measuring the economy than the inflation rate and the unemployment rate. When you talk to people that have a second job, they really aren't really going to pat us on the back for bringing the inflation or the unemployment rate down below 3%. So we've got to listen to workers. We've got to speak to them, whether it's trade policy, whether it's taking on corporate interests. The drug companies still are. I mean, you look who they've been over the years. They're the drug companies. They're the oil companies. There's Wall Street. Now you add to that the crypto scammers, and it's just one after another that are scamming the public, that are rigging the system. But Democrats have to offer something in the midterms more than we ain't them. We've got to really offer a worker message way better than we have.
It has to be something more affirmative than just saying they're not like us. I understand.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Well, the voters have seen this play too, that we're not them, and then we're not tuned in enough listening to workers and what they think. And when we did surveying on the Dignity of Work Institute, one of the things we found was something like 5 or 6 out of 10. 5 or 6%, I'm sorry, 50 or 60%, I think the system should be pretty much destroyed and start again. And that tells you the confidence that the lack of confidence. It tells you how many people think the system is rigged. We've got to go out and listen to people. And well, I'll give you a really quick example. And right after the election, there was a federal judge in Texas. The Biden administration, the last month, he handed out a rule to anybody making below 50,000 was entitled to overtime, and if the company classified you as management, they couldn't take away your overtime. A federal judge appointed by Trump, one judge in East Texas, at the behest of the Texas Chamber of Commerce, handed down a decision that cost 4 million Americans their overtime. 4 million Americans won't get time because of one judge. We got to talk about that. We've got to show how that's wrong. We've got to show how we're going to fix that, so people that are making 30 or 40 or thousand a year get the overtime they've earned.
Yeah, and that's English. People understand how hard they work and what it means to get overtime or to be rigged out of it. Senator Brown, longtime Senator Sherrod Brown, thank you. We turn now to that story of two murdered Israeli embassy staffers in Washington, D.C., Sarah Milgram and Yaron Leszczynski, shot and killed. This was at close range right outside the Jewish Museum late last night.
Global shock over a deadly brazen shooting in the heart of our nation's capital.
Two Israeli embassy employees are dead after an apparent targeted attack on a Washington, D.C. street.
A man taken into custody after the shooting was heard yelling, "Free Palestine."
Earlier today, Sarah Milgram's father spoke about this terrible loss and crime.
Sarah's a wonderful girl, and she was as close to perfect as any human could be.
Like 31-year-old Elias Rodriguez charged today with 2 counts of second-degree murder, a very disturbing incident that's generated a lot of concern there in Washington. We have a lot more coming up on the program. Donald Trump escalating the campaign against Harvard, which has stood up to him. Also, blowback on deportation. We've seen a lot of news on that this week. Pressure campaigns that might amount to illegal selective prosecution. Comey, Springsteen, and now a separate effort to quiet The View, which is a hard show to make quiet in the best possible way. And by the end of the hour, I want to tell you, we have Mike Barnicle and Maureen Dowd here, so a lot coming up. Turning to the scrutiny on President Trump's effort to abuse government power. If you remember back in the day, most people deny having an enemies list. Even in the recent Trump confirmation hearings, people denied it. Nixon reportedly had one, but denied it. The difference now is how out in the open we are seeing this. The use of federal power to target critics of Donald Trump, people exercising their free speech, even though, of course, he campaigned on protecting free speech. The clash with Harvard is heating up. Trump administration blatantly trying to interfere in its ability to do what it does, enroll students, be they legally here as Americans or legal migrants, and saying they're not going to let them do that. This will affect about 6,000 students. Harvard believes the action is unlawful. Also, long-term hurts America if top universities can't bring Harvard-level talent from other places. The crackdown is broader. Over 50 universities and colleges facing some version of pressure and anti-diversity investigations. There is evidence that the administration has gone after individual students, and while each case has its own fact pattern, the wider headlines show how many immigration authorities keep going after students who have exercised free speech on behalf of the Palestinian cause or the rights of people in Gaza, which of course is just one more protected type of free speech. Then there was the shakedown of big law firms. There's big media, where ABC saw that its parent company, Disney, which has all kinds of dealings, wants The View to tone down what the Daily Beast calls Trump bashing. Remember, pro, con, nuanced in the middle, peaceful free speech is a protected right in this country. And the government isn't supposed to use jail or other corporate machinations to suppress it. Here's The View.
People always want us to be respectful and do the things and talk about the stuff we talk about. We can do all of that. But when you are blatantly giving the country the middle finger, that is blatant. You're not supposed to do that.
Well, Whoopi Goldberg making it clear on air, she's not backing down. Yes, be respectful, but not backing down because the government says don't criticize the government. Then there's the DOJ. Multiple investigations against Democrats and high-profile figures who've criticized Trump, and virtually no other type. So we're not seeing just an increase in sort of, oh, there's more probes of public officials. No, it looks like an intimidation campaign. And then they take the fight to Bruce Springsteen for saying this.
The America I've written about that has been a beacon of hope and liberty for 250 years is currently in the hands of a corrupt, incompetent, and treasonous administration. They are persecuting people for using their right to free speech and voicing their dissent.
That's what free speech and dissent sounds like. And watch the response. They could have let it be, or they could have said we disagree, but instead Springsteen is facing a president who's not only lambasting him with names, which a president can do, but posting a video of violence, of assaulting Springsteen. In an environment where we have a lot of violence in this country, the sitting president is doing this. Imagine Obama, Bush, or anyone else doing it. It would be a multi-week scandal. This behavior echoes the Nixon era. Richard Nixon, as I mentioned, denied having the enemies list that evidence found he did. And later, the tape recordings showed how much time they spent going after people, including one of the most beloved individuals in the world at the time, the Beatles star John Lennon, who was also a critic of Nixon. Indeed, amidst a re-election campaign and all of the war debate in '72, the Nixon administration fully went after the musician, trying to use an old charge to deport him in what looked then like targeting. Lennon fought back and won.
They're even sort of changing their own rules to get us, just because we're peaceniks, really.
Well, you don't ask for your anti-war action and not your marijuana conviction.
Well, I mean, let's say that a few friends of ours in the pop business have exactly the same conviction as me and are allowed to come and go as free as they like.
Come and go. Lennon there making the point that it felt like targeting. It wasn't about the underlying pretext. It was because he was, as he put it, a peacenik or a Nixon critic. What you see on your screen is some old footage that shows how big a story this was at the time. Geraldo Rivera interviewing Lennon and Yoko Ono about it in '72. That was amidst the debate before they knew that Nixon and the administration would lose. And it's Geraldo who joins us on exactly this kind of targeting next.
Do you feel that there's something incongruous about the fact that you've been asked to join the President's Commission Against Drug Abuse and the American Bar Association Council Against Drug Abuse, and here you're being thrown out of the country because of an arrest for pot that goes back a year?
They're asking us to become artists in residence for New York City and to help awareness in the city of art and music and love and peace and love,
Peace and love. Yoko and John talking to Geraldo Rivera, a longtime journalist, is a special guest of ours. Thanks for coming back.
My pleasure. Anytime, buddy.
We saw there why history does repeat itself, because Nixon and Trump have a playbook, and it always involves sprinkling in some claims. Maybe there was a tussle. Maybe there was trespassing. In this case, maybe there was marijuana, cannabis use. And yet they were vindicated, and you discussed it with them, that was a pretext, that it was about their free speech. Do you see parallels today?
Of course, there are parallels, particularly if President Trump follows through on his threat to investigate Oprah and others, Bono, others who appeared in benefit concerts for Kamala Harris. I think that if the president goes there, it will be again, like a kind of the days of probing the Hollywood during the McCarthyism. It's just a terrible, terrible retrofit that bothers me tremendously. I think that these artists have to be free to perform, and the president should be concerned with things that are grander and much more important to the American people. For him to go after them because they criticize him, he has always been thin-skinned. I remember during the Rosie O'Donnell flap where he criticized Rosie and called her fat and slob and this and that. He called me over to Trump Tower to talk about it because I wanted him to pull off. I wanted him, it was around the time I was doing Celebrity Apprentice, and he was just getting up to steam on his presidential ambitions. And I thought that for him to, make that fight would be counterproductive. And what was it all about? What about freedom of speech and all the rest of it? And it's not as if President Trump doesn't give plenty of opportunities for criticism. My goodness, this crypto sleaze thing, the saga, there was nothing like that with Nixon. Nixon did Watergate, but we didn't know about it at the time John was getting thrown out of the country. We just were desperate to keep him in the country because it was hypocrisy. Yeah. They were throwing him out because he opposed the war in Vietnam, not because
exactly. So let's look at that with Lennon in the parallel, because I had a Trump border czar, Tom Homan, on last night, asked him point blank about this, because the concern is that they're trying to abuse immigration powers, which are strong, in all these ways, along with other things. And they just dropped the case against the mayor where they alleged he was trespassing an ICE facility. Again, an immigration focus. So here's his response. When you look at the investigations, it's a lot of critics of Donald Trump and Democrats. Can you think of or name any public official or individual who's in these crosshairs other than those folks? I've got some up on the screen. It goes from Cuomo to Comey to Springsteen at this point.
Those who break the law should be prosecuted. I'm not making any claim we're weaponizing anything. I don't think President Trump's weaponizing anything against his political opponents. We're enforcing the law.
Your thoughts?
You know, I didn't like when they went after Trump for Stormy Daniels. I didn't like when they went after Trump for the documents. I thought that that was the weaponization of the legal process. That's in my opinion. I think that if he uses the Justice Department in the way that it now is indicated that he will, going after Andrew Cuomo in New York City as he runs for mayor with allegations from the time he was governor, going after, you know, these artists that I spoke of earlier, and Oprah. It just, what the hell is the presidency about? And I think that that's really the trouble with the crypto campaign, this sleazy thing. What's the presidency about? Is it about unjust enrichment or even enrichment? Or is it about serving the nation? It just seems to me when Bruce Springsteen sings so emotively, you know, a City of Ruin, or you know, these songs that he sings from the heart and from the gut. He's singing about it in America and the problems in America. I was shocked when he, you know, treasonous, incompetent, and corrupt is hard words to direct at the president of the United States. I would never do it myself. You know, do them on the issues. I think that's fine. But I think that both these guys, I would like Bruce to go back to music and the president to go back to, you know, guiding the country rather than making it seem as if the presidency is just a vehicle, one more Trump, it's like Trump steaks or Trump casinos. You know, it's just another one of those kind of forays into the get-rich-quick scheme world. And it really gives a bad taste. It should to anyone watching, and you know, the way he's comporting himself. I mean, to hang out with people, you know, crypto was, yeah, I remember when Trump was saying crypto was for sleazebags and criminals, that it was, it's where people went to launder money. You know, and for him now to be the king of the heap is grossly hypocritical. So I understand why Bruce wants to sing about it. I wish the criticism was less ad hominem and harsh, but you know, it's you know, the campaign has to end. The campaign for president has to end. Now, you know, the president has to preside, not getting free jet planes, you know, and you know, and doubling his worth to $5 billion because he's. When in my day, when a president got rich, it was because he was finished his term honorably. He makes speeches, you write books, you get a library, and you become enshrined in the history books.
Yeah, and your library
this is much different. This is
and your library is not supposed to be always just a cover for a jet hanger. Geraldo, great to have you. Appreciate you and speaking with candor tonight. We appreciate it. We're going to finish a break, and then we have our friends Mike Barnicle and Maureen Dowd, a rarity on the beat. That's coming up. We got a special one tonight. It is time to fall back and check out these great guests returning for his third fallback. Journalist Mike Barnicle has written over 4,000 columns, who's counting, including for Time, ESPN, The Daily Beast, The Boston Herald. A Boston boy through and through. He's also been seen at Fenway over the years. We have the proof, including with political A-listers like former Democratic candidate there and Senator and Secretary of State John Kerry. They were with you.
They were with me.
That's what's up.
Seats.
Or with Robert Redford. Boom. And making her fallback debut, only her second time on the beat, Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times columnist Maureen Dowd, a valued voice in print and screen for decades. Many know her over the years from Meet the Press, our flagship NBC Sunday public affairs program. 3 decades of columns. She's also written several books, and the newest, which we've had her on the program for, is called Notorious, Portraits of Stars from Hollywood, Culture, Fashion, and Tech. You can get Notorious wherever books are sold. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you. She is an international gift to the printed word.
Boom. Wow.
Yeah.
High praise from another ink-stained writer.
That's a true story.
And because you both have worked in media and politics, you know each other.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here we are.
We've been at Red Sox games together.
Yeah, and in Northern Ireland, where I gave you the tour of Belfast.
We covered Northern Ireland together.
I introduced you to Ian Paisley's church.
And Mike took money out of the collection.
I did.
Did you?
Yes.
What'd you spend it on?
Yeah.
I think she was with Mary McGrory. I think I bought him lunch with the profits when I dipped into the...
Is that a special sin? Is it worse than normal stealing?
It's not a sin.
No?
Not
well, it was Ian Paisley's church,
it
was a revolutionary act.
I see.
Against the orange people.
Yes.
I see. All right. Well, we learned something new on the news. We're going to start with you as the pro.
Okay.
What's on your fallback list?
The first thing on my fallback list is this national mania for gambling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to end badly, I think, sooner rather than later. There are already indications that it'll end badly. I mean, walking around today with a phone is like having Las Vegas in your pocket. Anybody can bet on anything, anytime, anywhere. But the professional sports gambling runs the risk of, at some point, some famous athlete is going to either jigger a run scoring or whatever to not fix a game, but to alter a score of a game. And it's going to be an enormous scandal. In Major League Baseball, you can walk into every major league clubhouse, and the first thing you see in that clubhouse is a big sign about the dangers of gambling and the prohibition of gambling in Major League Baseball, because, of course, Major League Baseball suffered the 1919 Black Sox scandal over gambling and everything like that. So that's my fallback, that we should just get rid of gambling. Get rid of the influence of gambling on sports. Hard to do, probably impossible to do, but it would be better off if they weren't sponsoring baseball games.
Maureen, what's on your fallback list tonight?
Mine is the national mania with mocktails.
Do
you drink mocktails?
No.
Okay, good. They're taking over restaurant menus, and everyone's obsessed with them. And I don't like them because they make me feel guilty when I'm drinking tequila.
How do you make a mocktail?
Well, it's like a very fancy cocktail, but without the alcohol. But there are plenty of other good drinks you can have besides mocktails.
I'm against all mocktails except the pina colada, which doesn't have that much alcohol to begin with and tastes great either way. And if I am in a sunny location, a virgin pina colada is just fine.
But isn't that what the Jason Isaacs, is that his name, was going to poison his whole family with on White Lotus?
White Lotus, pina coladas, but then we learned the coconut milk was off. Before we get out of here, what else is on your list?
The IRS being forced to share information, taxpayer information, in order to, grab more people who are here supposedly illegally. And all I can think of is that if they continue to do this, given the way this administration operates, without rules, without laws, with no inhibitions whatsoever, that pretty soon my IRS information will be on a signal call with Jeffrey Goldberg also on the call, run by someone from the Defense Department or someone in the Trump administration. That bothers me. It should bother everyone, the idea that they're sharing information, like private income information, so easily.
Right, and they're trying to knock down walls that have existed for a long time to protect people. I mean, you can be in a court hearing and the government has information that doesn't go to the jury to protect you. This idea that everything gets combined into one big muck pile that could be used or abused by the government. It's antithetical to the whole reason we had a revolution, which was not to have an all-seeing government. You have a fallback on the White House briefing room.
Yes, I think we should get rid of propagandists in the White House briefing room because Trump and Elon tells people on X that they are the media. Legacy media doesn't exist anymore. And Trump is trying to undermine the media. So they're taking the media and taking the people who used to be in the front seats, like the New York Times and CNN and MSNBC, and moving them back. And they're putting in these kind of mocktail journalists.
Wow.
Who there's one, okay, you're not going to believe this. Well, Steve Bannon has his own White House reporter.
Yeah.
And Mike Lindell, Mr. Pillow, has his own White House reporter. So these are the people who are replacing legacy media.
You know, having lived in Washington all your life, you're a Washington native. Not a lot of people know that. Born and raised in Washington, D.C. Does it shock you the ease with which each and every day the President of the United States, Donald Trump, uses the Resolute desk and the Oval Office for like just press conferences that are carried live now on television, talking about nothing, really?
Yes, I'm shocked, Mike.
Yeah, it's offensive. It's to the office, to the standing of the presidency.
Yeah.
Well, and what you say that needs to fall back is also important, because it's one thing to say we need new and broader media. That's great. People from all over the country, not just the coast. People with different life experience. I don't think you have to have some degree or advanced degree to do this work. But if you don't have a fidelity to checking your sources and checking your facts and only reporting what you found to be true, then you're just detonating that room. We always like to fall back on that kind of sour and depressing note.
Yeah.
So you might need a real cocktail by the end of the night. Yeah. So great to have you both together, Mike and Maureen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ari.
Thanks for watching. What time is it? Just about 7. What day is it? It may not matter. It's a weeknight.